the Prime Minister thanking the Karyakartas for the effort they put, virtually signaling the start of Modi 3.0, or what he is now calling NDA Sarkar. It's taken 24 hours for the government to be in a way rechristened from Modi Sarkar or Modi ki guarantee to NDA Sarkar. NDA now the buzzword, effectively suggesting we are back in the age of what is best described as a milli-julli or coalition government. That clearly is loud and clear in terms of messaging. We are entering a phase of a milli-julli Sarkar. The Prime Minister there is leaving the BJP headquarters at this moment. We're going to be joined by several guests over the next hour and a half, and we'll have more insights to what really has happened on this remarkably fascinating day in Indian politics. But just to get first reactions from you, Rajat Sethi and Shankar Iyer, to what you heard from the Prime Minister. It was a more subdued speech, clearly reflecting the occasion, but at the same time, the Prime Minister seemingly determined that he will be there for another 5 years.
It lacked the usual Modi bling.
What is the Modi bling?
You know, when he speaks, there is a certain sparkle, there is a certain weight, certain enthusiasm, and you can see the crowd responding to that stuff.
That could be fatigue also, Shankar. He's addressed 206 rallies over the last 7 weeks in extreme heat.
It could also be the result.
You think the result has...
No, it's a sober. I'm saying it's a sober assessment of what they've achieved.
Our first guest this evening is joining us now. The young BJP MP from South Bengaluru, Tejaswi Surya, joins us. The India Alliance, 9 wins and leads, 8 up from the last time. This is the breakup of where the Congress has done well. The NDA, on the other hand, 17 seats for the BJP, 2 for the Janata Dal Secular. Tejaswi Surya, welcome. I want to tell our viewers what happened in Bengaluru South. Tejaswi Surya winning with a 2 lakh plus lead against Soumya Reddy of the Congress party. 7,50,830 votes. Tejaswi Surya, welcome. Congratulations on your own win. Your party emerging as the single largest party by far. How does it feel? Is it bittersweet? The losers are feeling like winners. The winners are feeling ki jeet mein maza nahi aaya.
Thank you so much, Rahul. First of all, I want to thank the voters of Bengaluru South for reposing their faith once again in BJP, in me, and electing us with a very, very big margin, 2,78,000 votes, the highest in Bengaluru city this time. This shows the incredible faith that they have in the Prime Minister's leadership and in the transformatory ability of the BJP. Rahul, we had huge expectations. It is but natural to feel a little disappointed when we have not met the expectations. But what is ludicrous is the way the Congress party is celebrating their loss. It's a fact that Narendra Modi has been elected as the country's Prime Minister for the 3rd consecutive time. From 1962, after Nehru, there has not been a single individual, including people from the Gandhi dynasty, who have matched this feat. It's Narendra Modi who has risen from nothing, who has equaled Jawaharlal Nehru's record and has emerged as the most popular leader democratically elected in the world. Even if you take the vote share of the NDA, we have increased our vote share compared to 2019. The total number of votes that the BJP-led coalition has got is definitely higher compared to what we had in 2019. In the south of India, we have performed exceedingly well. In Odisha, we are forming our government. In Andhra Pradesh, we are forming our government. Even in Karnataka, in seats like Bengaluru Rural, which was touted to be the stronghold of the Congress party, we have won with a 2,60,000 margin. This is, I think, the big takeaways for me. There are, of course, lessons to be learned, which I'm sure we all will.
I think Tejasvi is being pretty honest in his assessment, saying there is some disappointment, but there are plus points as well. But Tejasvi Surya, will we therefore see a very different BJP in your view? Now that we are being told it's an NDA Sarkar. Until now it was a BJP Sarkar. with the allies playing a marginal role. Now the roles could get reversed because you are dependent on some of these allies. Will that change, you believe, the style of functioning of this government, be more consensual, be more accommodating?
The BJP has always been consensual, the BJP has always been accommodative, and the BJP's credo has always been nation first. That's our DNA. So whether it's a full majority BJP-led government or whether it is, a coalition of the NDA, the very DNA of the NDA has been to place nation first. That's the credo, that's the DNA of the BJP, and we have seen 10 years of Narendra Modi-led transformation in the country, and I can assure you the third term of Narendra Modi is going to be even more aggressive in terms of reforms, even more aggressive in terms of our ambitions, and we are going to work with steadfastness, with more dedication to achieve our sankalp of a Viksit Bharat.
How do you see, final question,
please do not misread this mandate.
Tejasvi, before we let you go, the fact is that Prime Minister Modi's never had a result which hasn't yielded a majority or a big majority. You've never been in a situation where you've had to run a government with coalition partners. How do you see Modi 3.0 being different from the rampaging, all-conquering Modi that we've seen over the past 10 years?
Well, if you look at the last 10 years, we have still led a large coalition. And even in the last few years of the NDA 2.0, Narendra Modi 2.0, the respect, the mutual respect that we have had with our NDA partners, the way, NDA has been functioning, the strength of NDA has been growing. I am very confident that Modi 3.0, NDA 3.0 is going to be as effective, as transformative as the last 10 years. I also want to make one point here to my friends from the Congress. Somebody was telling me, looking at the way Congress has been celebrating their defeat, when a very high-performing student who generally scores 95, 98 in examinations, passes with first-class marks, say 75, 78%, there is definitely some disappointment. But for somebody like the Congress party who's consistently been failing one examination after the other, even passing this time with a 35% marks, they are celebrating in a big way. The Congress, starting from Rajiv Gandhi's time, has not been able to touch 100 seats. Even now, the Congress is somewhere around 98, 99. They're still not touched.
That's not true. They did touch in 2009. They went, they went, was their best performance since Rajiv Gandhi, and as an alliance, they were well over 200 at that time. But Tejasvi Surya, well done. Good luck to you and to you in Bengaluru South. Thank you very much for joining us. Rahul, there is someone who's now joining us who also had a battle within a battle. Yogendra Yadav was someone who stood out and said that he believed there was no way in which the NDA would reach 272. In fact, he predicted the BJP between 240 and about 260. And that's perhaps as close as anyone has come to giving the NDA numbers. And there was this battle between Prashant Kishore, who claimed 300 par easy, versus Yogendra
the other
Yadav.
Interesting thing is, Yogendra Yadav said, originally, I've given up predictions and projections. Then he started doing it during this election. And hats off, Professor Yadav, you've kind of hit this one out of the park. The pollsters who were on the ground with much larger sample surveys struggled in the end. Yours was more anecdotal. You were traveling, you were trying to collect with very limited resources, and yet you called Uttar Pradesh right, and in that you called the story of this election. So many, many congratulations to you. Tell us, what were you seeing and reading, which all these much wanted pollsters clearly weren't?
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you very much. I don't think these things should be given that much of an importance. I don't think there was any battle with Prashant Kishore. I've actually learnt a lot. He is one of the most astute analysts of politics. Whenever I speak to him, I learn something. All this was media creation. To my mind, pollsters are just postmen. They should not be made centerpiece of it. If they get it right, they are only doing their job. If they don't get it right, there should be some improvement when they get it right. I don't think dancing in the studio is a very good idea. And when they get it wrong, making someone cry in the studio is also not a good idea. I think all we need is to reflect on this. And you are absolutely right, Rahul. I did not want to do psephology. I had given it up 12 years ago. I don't want to do it. I had to come in as a political activist who saw that the tools of survey were being misused to hoodwink this country in an attempt in which all the major media channels, including yours, was a partner. So I, as a
no, but can I quarrel with that just to say that had we put out pre-poll surveys?
I know you won't like it, Rahul. Why don't you listen to me
but you must hear this also. Had it been a pre-poll study, you could have said, what you could have said would have been true, that this is an attempt to influence the election, that charge could have been applied. This is a post-poll study. This has been put at a time when polling is over. There is no bearing. I mean, the only thing you get is either you get the kudos for getting it right or you get the brickbats for getting it wrong. There's really nothing else at stake. So you can't blame the media for doing a post-poll study, which is really our effort to try and understand how the elections really unfolded, sir.
How did you assume, Rahul, that I was speaking of the exit poll? I was speaking of the coverage by the media throughout this campaign, and when I decided to come back and perform this role, which is about 2 months ago, it was clearly not in response to any post-poll or exit poll. You don't need to be very defensive about it. All I'm saying is that the entire mainstream media of this country was speaking like spokespersons of the BJP. They were campaigning for the BJP. They were creating a mahal of 400 par, more than the BJP was doing. And all the so-called election analysis, and remember, there were lots and lots of pre-poll forecasting going on. Everything had created this impression, aayega to Modi hi, Modi hai to mumkin hai, 400 par. I kept quiet. I must say I was also somewhat intimidated by all this, till I traveled. When I traveled and I saw this was complete nonsense, then I stepped in and said, all right, it's my duty. It may have been my old role. I don't earn my bread from this. And I don't want to be a psephologist. And on your show, I'm announcing, thank you very much, done my duty only once. This is not my role. I don't want to perform it. This is not my scene in life. So I had to do it out of this exigency. I'm glad it was all right. I'm glad I got the range right. But there's always a bit of a fluke in getting it so right. Those who got it wrong, I understand what it feels like to make a forecast and then the whole country to mock at you. I empathize with my friends who may have got it wrong today. Pradeep Gupta has had a very good track record. It's the day today to remember that he's had a very good track record. He got it wrong. It doesn't matter. It happens to all of us. What surprised me were 2 or 3 things. Number one, all the channels were making more or less the same forecast. This normally doesn't happen. Number 2, that many channels upped their forecasts to include 401, 4011, 411, as if to say कि 400 पार तो हम करवा ही देंगे. That surprised me. And the third thing that surprised me is that channels do not do that elementary declaration about conflict of interest. If, like I do, I come on your channel, I say I'm a political activist who has this position in this election and these are my assessment. Similarly, should it not be all right for all the pollsters to say, I'm principally working for the BJP, here I'm in my capacity as a pollster doing exit poll. This much disclosure should be mandatory. It's mandatory all over the world. So why do you think, instead of focusing on pollsters who should not be the real story, and thank you very much for making me a bit of a story, but I actually don't deserve to be the story. No, all we should focus is on improving transparency in polling. That's what we should be focusing on. I happened to get it right, and Rahul, the advantage I had was that I was not burdened with numbers. As you rightly said, a bit of episodic thing, travel, so I was cool, I was light, and I could say these things. Those who are carrying serious polls, they are burdened with a lot of numbers, statistical evidence. They have to deal with it, and I don't envy them. So, thank you very much.
But Yogendra Yadav,
it should be put in perspective.
I've heard you well, and I think you make some solid arguments, particularly about the quality of polling at times across pollsters. There are a lot of fly-by-night operators who've also become pollsters. who, as you say, do not disclose maybe whether they have other interests other than polling. But what I wanted to ask you, Yogendra Yadav, was simply this. You know CSDS, for example, you worked there as at least an academic research institute. When you look at their vote share also to a large extent paralleled some of the findings of some of the other pollsters. And the sense one got is all these pollsters therefore got something wrong. When all of them go in one direction, and I can only recall, for example, that famous election in Britain where all the pollsters predicted a Neil Kinnock Labour victory and the Conservatives won. Something went drastically wrong with the pollsters. What do you think went drastically wrong with pollsters, including to some extent an academic pollster like CSDS? It doesn't give numbers, but it gave vote share. Yogendra ji, can you hear me? Okay, we're going to try and go back to Yogendra Yadav because I want to understand from Yogendra Yadav exactly what he believes went wrong with the pollsters. Why is it that directionally all these pollsters had predicted one kind of verdict? It's not just Axis My India. Remember, several pollsters across the board and academic pollsters predicted a comprehensive BJP victory. Yes, very quickly.
What I wanted to say is that even in the future, anecdotes will still not be able to replace proper statistics. I mean, one survey gone wrong, or one exit poll's gone wrong, you'll have to again go back to statistics. That is where eventual panacea will lie. Better quality data, better assessments on the ground, better surveys. But anecdotes will remain anecdotes with lesser number of credibility, even in the future.
You know, but I think what the real problem, and I think Yogendra hit on it, there are also a number of fly-by-night operators who become pollsters. And I think disclosure is important. Some of them simply are not disclosing some of the other clients that they may be working for, and we've seen that with polling. Some of them are just putting out numbers. We don't even know what their raw data is, what is the methodology. Unless you do that kind of rigorous polling, the entire... So, Yogendra Yadav, you're back with us. I want to understand whether it's an academic pollster like CSDS or indeed Pradeep Gupta or some other pollsters, all of them got this poll seemingly directionally wrong. CSDS doesn't give numbers, but in terms of vote share. What do you think they got wrong? Was it just Uttar Pradesh and the big states or something more?
Rajdeep, we don't have state-wise breakup from CSDS, so we have to wait to see whether they got it right or wrong. But I think pollsters were making four set of mistakes. One, there was a sampling error, which is to say most pollsters were undersampling the voters who are likely to have voted for India, namely voters who are poor, who are disadvantaged, who are less articulate. Number two, there was underreporting. Voters who were voting for BJP, for Congress and Samajwadi Party, say in a state like Uttar Pradesh, they were unlikely to report as openly and frankly as others. In my own conversations, I found dozens of conversations that began by saying BJP ko denge, but after 5-7 minutes they would open up and say nahin sawal hi nahi hota, unko to bilkul nahi denge. Pollsters would have missed those responses. It's in the nature of method, it's not their fault. Third, there was a under aggregation when those opinion poll findings are reported and converted into vote share. Many undecided voters were allotted more to BJP than to others based on their understanding. And finally, there was under-conversion of votes into seats. Now, normally, Rajdeep, all these four mistakes are made by most pollsters. CSDS has the best method because they don't undersample. Because what they do is they draw from random numbers from the voters list. Most other pollsters don't do it. But other mistakes are made by all pollsters all the time. But usually you make one error in one direction, another error in another direction. Errors cancel each other out and you look out quite good. For example, I made today error about Bihar, but I underestimated Uttar Pradesh. Both errors cancelled each other out and you think I made a very good forecast. This happens. In this particular instance, all the four mistakes were stacked one upon another. And it led to what looks like a gigantic mistake, which actually is not such an extraordinary thing.
Yogendra ji, if we step away from dissecting the polls to look at how you see the nature of political contestation over the next 5 years change, In your estimate, how is Modi 3.0 likely to be different from what India has seen in the past 10 years? How is the opposition likely to be different, given that Congress is about 100? How is the opposition likely to be different from what we've seen over the past 10 years?
Rahul, today was a very, very big day in India's democracy, and I can only put it in Hindi. आज तंत्र पे लोक की विजय हुई है. You know, the tantra, the system which has been dominating, that system has been, people have triumphed once again. And it's not just a piece of rhetoric. This happens very, very rarely, that a political party which is in command of everything, which has money, which has all the mainstream media, which has the entire establishment, unfortunately even the election commission, that is defeated the way it is. I heard someone talk about celebrating a defeat. And I personally thought what the Prime Minister was doing today was exactly that. It was celebration of frankly, a political defeat. How would it impact?
No, hold on to that. Can I just stop you? No, 1 minute. Yogendra ji, can I just stop you on that? When you say that he's celebrating a political defeat, I heard a commentator from the United Kingdom saying, look, 10 years in power, and you still come back, how does it become a defeat? Look at the gap between 1 and 2, it's still extra. So when you say it's a political defeat, and the opposition is not celebrating a loss, what do you mean?
No, sir, not just gap between 1 and 2. The BJP by itself is more than the entire India bloc put together. So, Yogendra ji, when you answer this question, you will have to keep in mind this fact that the India alliance taken together is at 234. Out of the 291 that the NDA has at this moment, the BJP by itself is 239. BJP individually 5 more than the entire India alliance taken together.
That too when you take TMC along.
Yogendra Yadav.
Thanks for the effort, Rahul, that you have put into all this mathematics. I have done numbers, and one of the things that I have learned from trying to do political numbers is that political numbers make sense in the political context. So Rajdeep, the British analyst or whoever told you after 10 years these things happen, he probably doesn't live in India. There's a very different context to it, and all of us know it. Rajdeep, you know it. Rahul, you know it. And every one of the audience knows it. In this was not a normal contest. Here is a contest where there is a stranglehold over power, where there is, in terms of money, BJP had probably what, 10, 20, 100 times more money that they were spending on this election than anyone else. That they had the entire media of this country lined up as their spokesperson. I think the British person may not have ever seen it, so he may not be familiar with all these things. They normally, in normal healthy democracies, you don't have such servile media as we've had in this country for the last 10 years. That all the institutions of governance were aligned, and that the election commission was playing a disgraceful role. They must not have seen all that. It is in this context, and the announcement of 400 par, and the entire media echoing 400 par, and till day before yesterday, we were discussing 400 par. In that context, getting 240, 30 seats below majority, is defeat. There is no other word for it. I know it must be very hard to take it for many people, but I think it's time we begin to realize, Rahul, that reality has changed. Something has happened in the last 12 hours, Rahul. I really want you to begin to believe these things.
Even though you will have 5 more years, you're saying this even though we will have 5 more years of Prime Minister Modi. We will probably still have 5 more years of Prime Minister Modi, Yogendra Yadav.
There is a difference, Rajdeep, between forming the government and having a popular mandate. Very often governments lose a popular mandate, but they still manage to form governments. Of course he would run a government. I'm not saying his government is, if he forms. As of now, he has not. And all this talk about Mr. Modi becoming Prime Minister for the 3rd time is absolutely premature. Those who know anything about legality, those who know anything about how governments are formed, should not be saying all this today. They can say it the day after tomorrow when the formality is completed. But more importantly, yes, he would have government. But there's something called Iqbal. I don't know the right expression in Hindi, in English for that. Governments have Iqbal. They have certain legitimacy. They have certain aura that actually gives government power to get things done. This would be government minus Iqbal. And that is where the difference is. And for that, I see many positives coming from that, Rajdeep, if I can quickly say that. Number one, I find, as Rahul has anticipated, opposition to be more vocal. I expect the opposition to actually get space to speak in the parliament, which was not the case earlier. I really expect the media to open up, and such a lovely sight it would be if the media in this country were to start speaking. I mean, I see many captions running on your channel even today, which must have been designed yesterday anticipating 320 seats for the BJP. But reality has changed. I'm really hoping that media would wake up. They would find some voice. I do expect the judiciary also to find greater courage, can I say, or greater attention to the letter and spirit of Constitution, something that has been somewhat blurred over the last few years. I do expect democratic institutions to open up, and above all, I expect protests, movements, and resistance to strengthen. And that, please don't get frightened, this is the best thing that can happen to a democracy. And this country was born out of an andolan. The PM doesn't quite realize it. But andolans becoming strong, democratic resistance becoming strong is a lovely idea. So today is a lovely day. We have seen opening of democracy. Tantra has been subdued by Lok for a moment. Let's cherish that moment, and let's hope something really good would come out of it.
Yogendra Yadav, as I've said, I've known you for years, and I think one of the great skills you have is bringing in various thoughts and putting it in a very concise manner. I appreciate you joining me. I can only say some of us have spoken at some cost over the years, but we will leave that for another debate and speak about that on another day. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. We've got other guests joining us at this moment. Sanju Verma, Priyanka Chaturvedi of the Shiv Sena UBT, their Rajya Sabha MP. Abhishek Mishra is an important functionary of the Samajwadi Party, one of the big winners today. Let's come to each of you for quick comments. First you, Priyanka Chaturvedi. I know it's a big day again for the Shiv Sena UBT. You've done very well in Maharashtra. But picture abhi baki hai. Many will say that, look, you might have heard what Tejasvi Surya told us. He said the opposition is celebrating a loss. Why are you celebrating today? Yogendra Yadav seems to be celebrating it as an activist. Why should a party which is not going to form a government be celebrating today?
No, I think Yogendra Yadav also explained why this becomes a moment which was a tipping point. The entire nation was looking at it as a tipping point for India, that in which direction would we be heading as a nation, as a democracy, which values and its constitutional principles. And today has been a day where people have spoken. People have absolutely ensured that there is nothing like the concept of absolute power, which Mr. Narendra Modi had been seeking when he spoke in the parliament saying that BJP on its own would get 370 seats and along with its allies get 400 plus seats. I think Yogendra Yadav has also beautifully put the state of media in front of the, in front of the audience that has tuned into your show, and also spoken about how agencies were misused, manipulated. As far as Maharashtra is concerned, Rajdeep, we are coming from a space where everything was taken from my party. They took away my party symbol. They took away my MPs, MLAs, even the party name. They had a prime minister attacking Uddhav Sahib Thackeray every day by calling him Nakli Santan and Nakli Party, Nakli Shiv Sena, etc. We started from scratch. But what we were certain of is the love of the people of the state. And this love has transcended. Even in Uttar Pradesh, we're seeing this with Samajwadi Party doing just so brilliantly well. And I think that is where the checks and balances come. And I know I'm being very philosophical. I'm not being political about this, because this is a day of victory of the people of this country, and people coming forward and saying that the direction you're taking my nation towards, Mr. Modi, is unacceptable to us.
Okay. I can see what the opposition sort of looking at the bigger picture, or virtually suggesting it's more a day of relief, dare I say, than celebration. But before you come, Sanju Verma, I know you're itching to get in. Let Abhishek Mishra also have a word.
No, but they're the biggest party. Come on, Rajdeep. You have subject.
Because Sanju Verma came in the morning. That's why I was going to give her
morning was much earlier.
Tejasvi Surya. But look, I think it's time to give equal time to the opposition, which has been waiting for its time for a very long time. But very quickly to Abhishek Mishra, because big day. Big day for the Samajwadi Party in particular. They've been one of the heroes. But Abhishek Mishra, where does the Samajwadi Party go from here? Yes, you proved, I think for the first time after a decade, that you're back in the game since 2012. But where does it leave you, Abhishek Mishra? Where does it leave the opposition? Priyanka Chaturvedi is virtually suggesting that the people have sent out a message. What about the parties? How will the opposition actually respond to this verdict now?
Rajdeepji, if you look at what's happened in Uttar Pradesh, then we have come almost back with a bang, where I could say that we have actually gained far more seats as a coalition. We are actually the majority player today with about 42 seats in the kitty. We have a lead and an edge over the BJP in the Uttar Pradesh. And if it was an election only in Uttar Pradesh, then today we would be celebrating a massive victory and a majority government today if the same results came out in the same proportion and the same ratio. But having said that, as you said, where do we go from here? I think not just we as a party, but this country goes from strength to strength. The confidence in the democracy of this country, the confidence in the notion of the people that they would vote for non-partisan parties, people who do not want to spread hatred, people who don't want to spread lies, people who don't want the country to fight on the lines of Hindus and Muslims. I think that space is reopened up, and in the psyche of the masses, in the psyche of the people.
Late last night or in the morning, Akhilesh Yadav and all were questioning whether you would have a free and fair counting process. Now you all seem at least accept that the counting was free and fair.
Well, Rajdeep, we actually raised serious questions regarding counting even today as well. I'm sure you realize that we had sent representatives to meet the Election Commission because after about 2:30 p.m., the counting actually dipped. And there's still concerns being raised within the party, within our cadre, within our leadership, that, something might still have happened. So anyway, because that's not the time where we are, but we have raised those questions. And it's not just about today. It's about the institutions of this country. The way BJP tried to bulldoze the institutions, I think the country has fought back, the people have fought back, and the very idea where
let Sanju Verma respond to all these attacks.
400, I think people have clearly said no to that 400.
The opposition is saying that the arrogance of power has been shown its limits today. That's their charge. Basically, the people have said, enough of this 400 par. This is where you are. You're the main party. You can run the country, but run it with more humility, less arrogance.
Rajdeep, I heard all the panelists and I also heard Yogendra Yadav. Without wanting to sound offensive, one allegation at a time, I will counter very quickly and with facts and not rhetoric. Yogendra Yadav says that the media has not been doing its job. The word he used for the Election Commission was that the Election Commission has conducted itself disgracefully. I just want to tell Mr. Yogendra Yadav, because I'm sure he's still watching your show. This is the same Yogendra Yadav who said BJP will lose Uttar Pradesh 2022, BJP will lose Uttarakhand 2022, BJP will lose Goa 2022. Again, Yogendra Yadav claimed with great bravado, BJP will lose Madhya Pradesh 2023, BJP will lose Rajasthan 2023, BJP will lose Chhattisgarh 2023. He got everything wrong. So, like they say, even a dysfunctional clock, it gets the time right at least twice in a day. So, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, you've had your moment under the sun, but you're still worse off than a dysfunctional clock because your average score has been pathetic.
Why make personal attacks?
He's not there. I did not heckle anyone.
This is the problem. This is the arrogance of power. Personal attacks is what we see. Please explain to me. Yeah, please explain to me what this verdict means for the BJP today. Why don't you focus on that?
Rajdeep, now today, if I say don't heckle me, you're going to blow your top. If Yogendra Yadav can sit on Rajdeep Sardesai's show and say that the Election Commission has done a disgraceful job, despite the fact that the Election Commission is a constitutional body and Rajdeep Sardesai gives Yogendra Yadav a free run, but the moment Sanju Verma says anything against Yogendra Yadav, Rajdeep Sardesai says, oh, this is overconfidence, this is arrogance. I told you in the morning, Uttar Pradesh results are a big disappointment, and I repeat that. West Bengal results are a big disappointment, and I repeat that. But also, Rajdeep,
Maharashtra, your home state, Maharashtra.
Can I finish? I'm coming to that. Don't second guess me. I was coming to Maharashtra. Please, today it's your time to show some patience and not get jumpy. Now let me say, the same cabal which is clapping for Samajwadi Party and rightfully so in Uttar Pradesh, why don't you admit that in Gujarat we've retained our bastion in terms of it being a bastion state? Himachal Pradesh continues to be a bastion state for BJP. Uttarakhand continues to be a bastion state for BJP. Odisha, Naveen Patnaik's run as chief minister is coming to an end after 25 long and good years. It has converted into BJP's bastion state. BJP-led NDA has made Andhra Pradesh its bastion state. But today, the same Congress, which is still struggling to touch the 100 mark, is being applauded by everybody, including Yogendra Yadav. Arey bhai sahab, BJP has won more seats standalone than Akhilesh Yadav, Mamata Banerjee, Rahul Gandhi and MK Stalin put together. किस बात की आपको इतनी खुशी है?
अच्छा, चलिए, I have to take a break. ठीक है.